You're listening to the Faith and Business Podcast with me, your host, Elle Edwards, the Mindset Geek from the Faith and Business Playground, here with Bible-friendly brain gymnastics to help you be joyful for Jesus in 2019. In today's episode of the podcast, we're going to be talking about one really quick and quite easy way you can supercharge your motivation when you get stuck into your perfect day, but when you get into that messy middle. So if you've been listening along to the last couple of podcast episodes, we talked about as you plan for 2019. Now I know it's almost halfway through now, frighteningly already. I can't believe next week it is actually the middle of January. But I would maintain that any time is the perfect time to get started on planning a great year. You don't have to wait until January. Yes, it's January right now, and we're using the power of that motivation. But I actually wrote Happily Ever After, my goal setting book, in something like May. I released it purposely in the middle of the year because this game is won or lost in our heads. And if we decide to wait until January or September or our birthdays or a particular date on the calendar, we miss out on opportunities. There's a reason why I love Mondays. It's like a brand new, the power and the excitement of a new year in a mini version every 7 days. So you can decide any day and any month to actually get started on creating a life and a day-to-day routine that lights you up and makes you smart. So having said that, I know it is January and we've been talking about your perfect ordinary day. And it's a really fun exercise. If you haven't listened to those episodes, I will link back to them in the show notes so you can go back and have a listen. But in essence, it's about imagining what your day-to-day, your ideal day-to-day would be like. And not day-to-day when you're on holiday, regular day-to-day, your work day routine, and what would it look like if that could be perfect. And then in the previous episode, of course, we talked about how you can bring aspects of that perfect day into your here and now, and it really is possible. You might need to loosen up your definitions a little bit, you might need to think outside of the box a little bit, but it really can be done. So in today's episode then, I'm going to assume that you've done the exercise, or you've got a version of the exercise done. So you know what you want. I'm going to assume as well, and this is a big leap, however, I'm going to make it. I'm going to assume that you have set some goals of some kind. Now, I'm not talking about New Year's resolutions. New Year's resolutions are a nightmare. Now, some of you listening might know that in January last year, our family joined the local leisure centre. Thanks largely to my eldest daughter. She wanted to go to the gym, and she didn't have to pay for it every time. So if we had family membership, she gets to go for free. It's not free, I pay instead, but we pay a fixed monthly fee rather than to pay each time. And as I was already paying for this thing, I thought, well, let's try out some of the classes. Little did I know, fast forward a year, and I go to kettlebells, I go to body blast, I go to box fit, about 4 times a week when it's on, I do all these different stupid things where I chuck myself around the room and throw up bars and bells and all, you name it, these different exercises. If you'd have said to me, just over a year ago, that a year later I'd be doing that and loving it, I would tell you that you are completely crazy. I used to hate exercise, but now this particular exercise, I love it. It's a wonderful part of my week routine. However, what's quite funny, this time of the year, you see new faces showing up because there's all these New Year's resolutions. I'm going to get fit. And you'll probably find in about a month's time, people will sort of tail off or they come to 1 or 2 classes and Adrian, our trainer, almost kills them because it's so intense and they give up. So that's why I don't like New Year's resolutions. I think that they're, done badly and they can be quite demotivating. However, goal setting can be really powerful. I mean, I wouldn't have written a book about it otherwise, because unless you know what it is you're actually aiming for, you're not going to get there. And the reality is that oftentimes, I was going to say sometimes, but actually oftentimes, as you imagine your whole year, you can't know what's going to happen in the year. So I give the classic example. Last January, when I planned my 2018, it was all about books. I was going to write my fiction back catalogue. It was all about the fiction. However, by the end of the year, I'd launched the Faith and Business Playground and gone off and doing all this work that actually is a dream come true. It's the realization of 9 years of building this business. I'm finally like, all the pieces have come together. Now, I had no way of possibly imagining that this stuff would happen. If you'd have told me in January last year, I'd have said, really? Nah, I don't think so. I would have thought you were a bit crazy. So we can't really know exactly how our year is going to unfold. And as people of faith, we talk about wanting to do God's will and to live a life at the center of that. And sometimes, let's be honest, that's about nudging at doors. Sometimes we try stuff, we nudge at doors, as my mum likes to call it. And when that door stays firmly shut and we give it a bit more of a nudge and a bit more of a nudge, we have to go, yeah, okay, maybe this isn't the right time. And so a lot of it is guesswork, because we don't, generally speaking, have these big voices from above, from God, really clear in our direction. There are times when the way things come together, I do believe that the way things have come together with the Faith and Business Playground, I do believe it's God-given. But even that is not developing and unfolding in the way that I imagined it would in October, November last year. Things sometimes go differently. And so my premise behind Happily Ever After, the goal-setting book, my premise behind it was, okay, yeah, it's great to have an idea of the big picture, but then let's break it down into 90-day goals, because that allows us to get some really cool stuff done, but it also allows for wiggle room as well. And so that's personally how I plan my year. I take it a quarter at a time, and that's how I work with my clients as well. Rent-a-Boss is a quarterly offering. We don't try and do it. It's not a year-long thing. It's done a quarter at a time. And yes, okay, there are things that you'll do in one quarter that, having done that piece, it requires more work in the next quarter. That's fine. But having quarter-long goals rather than yearly goals, it makes it feel like something that you can achieve, but also allows room for that flexibility. So having said that, having assumed that you've got yourself some goals for this quarter at least, what this episode of the podcast is about is helping you keep on keeping on when you get to the messy middle. Now, somebody, when they heard me use that phrase, messy middle, at the end of last year, went, oh, that's really cool, you should trademark that. I didn't come up with it. I first heard that phrase, messy middle. Michael Hyatt said it in one of his, something I read, or one of his podcasts, or I can't remember, a few years ago. But it felt like a really apt way to describe when you're slap bang in the middle of a really exciting project. Because at the beginning, you're full of motivation. It's really exciting, and it's new, and it's shiny, and it's wonderful, and it's amazing, and it's the best thing ever. And right at the end, when you're almost done, it feels great. But when you're stuck in the middle of it, and you've come so far, and you're doing the work, but you've still got a long way to go yet, that's the messy middle. And what I would encourage you to do is right now, when you're just getting started on these goals, while it still feels exciting and delightful and amazing, I would encourage you to go back, pause where you are, go back and consider, why are these goals important? Why are you doing these things right now? What is the purpose? What wider goal does it serve? Why are you bothering to do it? Because then if you've identified, and it needs to be really compelling, don't just go, oh yeah, but why? But why? But why? You're going to be like I describe it in the book as, I want you to be like a really annoying 3-year-old. If you've got children, and I'm not calling your children annoying, however, I have 3 children, and when they were little, they'd say, like, I don't know, why is that slug going across the pavement like that? And you'd give them an explanation. Yeah, but why? And then you give them another explanation. But why? But why? And it can be quite annoying. However, you are going to but why your way until you get a really clear, strong, at your core sense of why you are doing this thing. Why is it really important to you? But why? But why? And then when you get there, when you're really clear on exactly why you are doing this thing, that's when you've got that core that will help you keep going when you get to that messy middle. When you're having a day when it just feels, oh, why am I bothering? I should just go back and do this other thing instead. Because we all have days like that. You may have heard me tell you before, anybody who tells you they are happy and joyful all of the time is either on something or they're lying. Nobody has an amazing, wonderful day all of the time, every single day. Life isn't like that. It's a mixed bag. Sometimes things are a bit rubbish, and you'll have I mean, I would argue that even in, the rubbish days, there will be delightful moments. One of my favorite quotes: every day may not be delightful, but there is something delightful in every day. Sometimes you just got to dig deep and find that thing. But when you're having a bit of a why day, right, you can go back to those to those answers you came up with, to that motivation. Why are you doing this thing? And it will, give you that reminder. Oh yeah, that's why I'm doing it. Incidentally, and this is a quick plug, it's happening tomorrow. So if you listen to this on the day it's released, you're in time. My friend Louise is running, I think this is the third time she's done this. She's running a vision board masterclass. And I mention this because I'm somebody who, I think it would be fair to say, I've always been a bit reticent around vision boards, because I imagine them as having to you have to get out the scissors and the sticky tape and the glue and the magazines and however, I did Louise's masterclass the first time she ran it. I want to say October, November, I don't know, at the end of last year. And I'm a little bit slow sometimes. I finally got round, having got did some other work, got clear on my theme for 2019, which is joy, incidentally. My theme for 2019 is joy. And then I was then thinking about the ways I wanted to show up joyfully in the year, and the thing, what that would look like, what that would feel like. So I had things like loving and courageous and leader. And as a result of the work that we did in Louise's masterclass, I've now finally created my own version, at least, of a vision board. And I have it as my desktop. Right now it's a digital thing. It's on my desktop on my computer. I also have it as my wallpaper on my iPad, on my phone. But having created this colourful version digitally, I've actually ordered it as a poster, and it's been dispatched. I wish I could tell you it's here now. It's not yet at the time of recording, but I'm going to have it above my desk. That visual reminder of who I want to be, why I'm doing this. So on my vision board, I've got lots of pictures of my husband and the children, but not just random, they're specific pictures. I've got one picture, for example, of us when we outside one of the places we stayed at in France. I've got another photograph of the children and leaping in the pool and looking really smiley. So for me, those images remind me of why I'm showing up and doing this work. And so I'm mentioning this because I do believe it can be a really useful tool in order to keep you focused on those days when you're like, why? I got to be honest, every time I look at my desktop now, it makes me smile. It brings back those delightful feelings, and it does lift my emotions and make me feel, yeah, this is really cool. And I'm looking forward to having that visual reminder above my desk too. And so I mention this because if you're somebody who is a visual person and maybe kind of likes the idea of vision boards but don't really know how to make them work for you, that was me. Like I love outside and sunshine and visual pretty stuff, but I don't really like cutting out stuff from magazines. It doesn't have to be like that. So if you are listening to this on Friday, I'm trying to check what the date is on the weekend. I haven't got my calendar in front of me because I can't do it quick enough. What is the date today? Hold on. I'm recording this on the 9th, which is Wednesday. So 9, 10, 11, 12th. 9, 10, 11. Yeah, the 12th. I will put a link in the show notes to Louise's masterclass. It runs tomorrow. Having said that, I imagine that she'll run it again. So if you miss it, if you're listening to this afterwards and you've missed it on the 12th of January, I would encourage you to maybe sign up for her email list or drop her a note. Tell her Elle says hi and that I should do your vision board course, and she'll tell you when the next one is, because I found it really useful. It was really practical. And it was, for me at least, I found it it was enough sort of logical stuff in there that it made it accessible. I mean, there was a bit of woo as well, and law of attraction and all that sort of stuff. But as I told you before, law of attraction is really just the reticular activating system. Don't get hung up on that. That's just an aside. If you are a visual person and want a way to display your why front and center, I would check out Louise's vision boarding masterclass. It's not an affiliate link. I don't get any kickback or any of that. But Louise is just a really cool person, and I would recommend it because I got lots of value from it. But more importantly than that, is actually, I would encourage you to go back and do the work. Figure out why you are doing this thing you are doing. Who do you want to show up being? These reminders. So when you do find yourself getting stuck, when you do find yourself just fed up and not wanting to do the work, have that reminder there, because it will help you get up and get going again. And that's the purpose of today's episode. As an aside as well, if you haven't already, for listening and you haven't got a copy of Happily Ever After, if you've heard me mention the Perfect Ordinary Day exercise and you don't know what any of that is, the Kindle version is free on Amazon. So I will put a link to that in the show notes as well. And I've also got a short little 5-day mini series called Reclaim Your Year, which can be used any time of year to help you. It guides you through the exercises in the book to help you create goals and then action moving forward. So we look at the big picture, we then get goals, and then it's about how you then do the work day to day. So it's it's a complete system, I like to think. And it's actually the system I personally use. I love planners and stationery and all that sort of stuff, but I never found one that worked for how I wanted it. So I just created my own. And that's what it's based on. I literally use the Win the Week planner that you'll see me reference in the book. I use it every quarter and then every day to plan my day to day. It's the reason why when I got back to my desk after Christmas, I knew what to do. I didn't have to sit there going, what shall I do today? It was thanks to Win the Week. I'd already decided beforehand. So even though my motivation for doing any work was quite low, because I was still in Christmas mode, I was actually able to get out there and do the work. So if you haven't already read that, I would encourage you to grab a copy. I will put a link in the show notes. Anyway, in the meantime, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I'm delighted and excited to share this episode with you, because it is a tool that I've used myself and continue to use myself, and it really does have the potential to give you that kick when you need it. As ever, if you enjoyed this episode and you're not already subscribed, do please subscribe. Consider leaving a review so other people can help find us. But more than anything, smile, have yourself a delightful day, and I look forward to catching up with you next time. If ever you need proof that these episodes are recorded live and not heavily edited, that was it. Take care. Bye-bye.